It's so funny that this thing shows me saying go live. So I don't know how to fix that. I remember when I used to watch people do that, and when they came live, they would just already be live. So anyway, welcome everyone. Happy Saturday to you all. It's good to see you. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. If you like the video, that just helps me, and maybe helps others because then the algorithm will push it for them to see. So if you have any tickers that you want me to look at, feel free to drop them in the chat. I will take a look at them. So I wanted to start this week off with a few things. Run Strat is gone again. So what I noticed was the last time that they left, before they were there, they were asking people to donate, and nobody did, and they went offline, and then they came back. And it may have been the same thing. I don't remember seeing on the top how it used to be up here at the very top of the screen to donate. It was just gone. So I am just putting this out there to people because this is really a dope scanner and can save you time. If they come back up and they ask for money, donate to them.
Charts right now.
You said what?
I said I only see the charts. Are you on the Run Strat site? Because it's showing your charts on the. Oh, I'm looking on the Discord. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you on the Discord. But yeah, on YouTube I am showing the Run Strat site, but it's just really a blank screen. It just says farewell. So yeah, I was just letting people know if they come back, donate to keep them up. Pretty sure it's not a lot. You can give them $10, $20, 25, whatever. But yeah, I think they went offline. So just remember that you can go and use Frank's spreadsheet scanner thing. That's really comprehensive, and it's about as close as you can get to RunStrat. I did a whole video on how you can go through this and make a watch list. So um, keep that in mind. So this week coming up, we do have CPI on Wednesday, and then we have PPI on Thursday. I don't know necessarily that these numbers are going to really move much because like the market has kind of shaken off the last few data points, but things we are just going to be aware of. So, all right. So getting to these charts, one thing I did want to show you guys. Um, if you have not played around with this indicator, the Strat Teach V2, I think he added these things, or maybe I just didn't see it before, but it's really dope how you can actually customize this. So I wanted to show y'all. If you go into your settings for that, you can really customize how this looks for you. So you can make the numbers big or small. You can change to whatever color. If you want to specifically color 1 and 3 bars for actionable or just, for your eyes, you can do that. Then you can, y'all know I like my EMAs. You can actually put these inside of this indicator, which will be less indicators for you depending on what package you have with TradingView. But if you can, add 2 EMAs, and if you trade with the VWAP, that's 3 different indicators right there that you can put inside of this one indicator, and it'll show you your lines there. And then you can also color code them however you want. It gives you the target time frames if you want to have that on or not, and then the prices. So like, I actually didn't want those on, but you can see how it disappeared if you do put that on, how it gives you that target, and then if you put the prices on, it'll give you that price. For me, it's just too much clutter. I'd rather usually just have my lines and go off that, but if you need that, that works. Then you can also mark support and resistance levels if you want to use that in whatever time frame you want. It gives you 4 here. Not sure really about this fib thing, but maybe somebody else could figure that out. I don't really use that, and don't want it in the indicator, but I'm sure it could be helpful to someone. And then you can actually put the patterns on there. I know them, so I don't need to use them. But if you are still learning the strat and you want to see it, then you can put this on your chart so it can show you what the patterns are. And then if you only want specific ones, of course, you can uncheck them or whatever. And then of course you can say where you want it. If you wanted the pattern above it, of course there's a conflict with your numbers, but again you can put your numbers wherever you want. You can also have it tell you if there's a hammer or a shooter on there. And then what I really like is this table that it has down here. Now, I didn't see this before, but it has target price that you can put, and then you can also change this so that it's not so big. If you don't want it like taking up a lot on your chart, but it's not doing it on a daily. Let me go to the 4 hour. Okay, for some reason it's not giving me this target right now. It was doing it. Did I do something wrong? Nope. Oh, maybe I had it there. I don't think that was it though. Let me show you guys on this one right here, so you can see it right here. It does not show for the weekly and the monthly. I noticed that, but from the day on down, it'll give you the actual target of the ATR. So it can either get to 1867 or it can get to 2133 on the day. And then if you look at this, like say on the hourly, and it shows up, it'll give you that same target. So I really like that's there, and like I said, you can customize it to however you want. If you want it to give you those targets on the 30 and or show up, excuse me, on the 30 and the 15, you can do that, and you can just control what time frames it shows up on. So that's what I wanted to show y'all, a little tip that I liked. And also, if you didn't know that, you can come in here and like adjust how these things are shown. Like if you have this sector performance, you can move it to the top, the middle, the bottom, and then you can also change the size of it and even the direction. If you didn't want it horizontal like that, you can make it vertical. But play around with TradingView. They actually have a lot. I'm always learning something new. So yeah. All right. So let's look at our stuff. So what I wanted to point out with VIX here is that if you look at VIX on the monthly, we're now in this chop area. And this chop area was from, like, as you can see, June of 2021 to really about January of 2022, where it just really kind of bounced between where it's at now and about $23. So VIX may in fact do that. It already did the outside month, but then it came right back in. So we have to see what it does. But I mean, look at these. Oh, that's on the 1 hour. Let me change that. That is on the day. I was wondering that with that pivot, but that's why you have this big old bar right here. But basically, it came up, and we have a 2 up, 2 down on the day, and we still have room where it can go further down, or it can be inside. I'm honestly thinking that it may stay inside, because now that we've done this move right here, it may chop in this area again. So it really may stay in between this 20 resistance and about 1583, but it does have room to fall. So we stay bullish, it keeps falling, it can really come all the way down to about 1250. We would have to be like super bullish for that, but just know that it does have room. Now I have 2 broadening formations here, where if it breaks through that one, then that's what I would be looking for the second one. But then also keep in mind that we are at this one, so we can definitely have an inside week and reverse, or have an inside week and continue down. But I really do think we're going to stay in this area for a while. When I was looking at a lot of things on the week, I wasn't really liking too much, and then with that upcoming data, it's like not quite sure. So looking at the dollar, just briefly, it also has room to still drop, but it really hasn't been doing much, honestly. Like it did this, and then now we're still at this 100 area where it's been really for the past few weeks. 4 weeks now it's been sitting right here. So that's looking like a solid support. Just have to see what that does. Nasdaq is also still has room to the upside. So if the VIX does fall, it does have a little bit of room that I have here on this monthly broadening formation. And then I believe we have, is there a gap? We just filled this gap here. I think that's a line in my way. No, that's not a gap. That's not a gap. But we did just fill this gap here. So if we do continue, then we might want to touch the top of this broadening formation at least, and then we do still have this monthly target. If it breaks through this broadening formation, then we do still have room to go. Looking at it on a weekly, we're still in this inverted head and shoulders pattern, and on the daily, kind of have one too. There's your head, shoulder. So as long as it's supported, it stays above this 12,947, 943, then that will still be good. Consequently, if y'all look right here, it could definitely double top because it hit there and it came back in. So really looking to see what it does on Monday. It could, still pop and reject, but we do have a double top here. So interesting to see what NASDAQ does. Of course, looking at NASDAQ, we just have to see what the top players do. And that'll let you know, if NASDAQ is going to come back in, especially Apple. Once we get to that. Looking at the Dow, again, we're still kind of in the same place. As you can see, we took out both sides of the previous week's candle, but ended up right in the middle of it, basically. So, although it was some strong moves, especially here, this move, it still ultimately ended up right back in the same place almost, because when last time we talked about it, well, it was here, and now we're here. So I really think that we may actually stay in this area or chop around this area, unless we actually push to the upside. There's no actionable signal here, though. And as you can see, we're still in the middle of this monthly broadening formation, so it's not really doing a whole lot. I do, however, see a head and shoulders valid below about 340. So it could definitely come up and at least test 340. It could definitely come a little bit higher than that, but as long as it didn't break above 340, then that would still be the shoulder area. Consequently, this could be a shoulder and this could be a head, as long as it's supported by 333.56. But all of those numbers, if you notice, are still within that candle. So, I'm really, really thinking that we're going to have an inside week. I could be wrong, but, that's what it's looking like to me. IWM finally, died Monday. Yeah, this was Monday. This was actually, no, I'm sorry. This was March 6th. I'm looking at the week. I'm tired today, y'all. I'm thinking I'm looking at the day right here. This is the week. But IWM did finally die. It pushed up. It couldn't get past this 175 area, and then it finally did die. Come down, test the top of the bottom of this broadening formation, and came back in. So now it's looking to see what it's going to do. It does still have a little bit of room to the downside. So we could see 167. That would be the next target. It has done this 2 down, 2 up, and we have this gap here. So that would be my first target, that 171.55, 168, bottom of that broad formation. And if it wanted to break through there, 167. However, you saw that we did do that break up. So this is, we rejected here at these EMAs, so this is going to be my first resistance here. But let's see, yeah, it hasn't hit the monthly target. That's why I said it could still have room going down. but it would need to reverse on this week. And it's had a real hard time at that 177 area. It's like this gap up here that we were talking about for weeks. It dropped, it tried for the longest, and then it dropped. So I don't necessarily think that it's going to actually get there. We need like to really boom out there, but this resistance has been proven to be a solid resistance. So be interesting to see. You know, I like IWM on Mondays. So if this does somehow, let me look at this on the 4 hour. It would need to 2 up, 2 down on the 4 hour. But you saw that on the day it rejected this 8. It's actually in between this 8 and the 20, so I wouldn't really touch it when it's in between EMAs like that. So I would, and of course, even STRAT, you would wait for it to do a 2 up, 2 down. But when you look at it on the 4 hour, it's kind of the same thing. Where even if it did a 2 up, 2 down, it's still going to be in between these EMAs. So I would really, if it does reverse, like say, you know, it gaps down Sunday when futures open, and then Monday morning it opens close enough to reverse and then to do the 2 down, then that could be a decent play. Otherwise, it's not really an actionable signal here on the day. I do usually like IWM on Mondays though. So the big dog, Apple. Kiki is still bullish on Apple, y'all. And I have to mention that because y'all know Kiki is the bear. She even mentioned about she may need to change her name. So a couple things I want to point out with Apple is we talked about the fact that the outside year is still in effect as long as it's above this 154.56. So it just had earnings, blue earnings out, and even if it corrects, I still don't think it will correct even that far. So if it does continue, we do still have that 182.94 target, but remember that is on the year. So looking at it, I'm on the wrong one. Looking at it on the month, we do know that the next monthly target is 176.17. If it does still have juice, don't believe we have any gaps on Apple. I think we have filled all gaps. Oh, nope. Oh, y'all, there's this little tiny gap. Did I miss that last week? I have to go back. So I don't know if I saw that before, but there's a tiny gap up here at 174.52 that Apple may be going for. So it may at least go for that on the day. Wait, as this next target. Come on, go back. It's the only thing with having these multiple charts is that trying to scroll over and stuff. But yeah, so that would be my next target on the day is first of all that gap at that 174. Oh wait, hold on. 174.34. Now I gotta go back again, y'all. Oh, it did fill it. Never mind. I mean, just barely. This is 174. Y'all know I got old eyes. 174.46 and 174.34 it got to. So it filled that gap, technically. And I don't think there are any other unfilled gaps to the upside before the all-time high. Nope. So that gap has been filled. So really interesting to see how Apple handles that, if it continues to push or if it's corrects and at least tries to give back some of this gap here that we have. Of course, you know that's going to be your first target to the downside. It's going to be this 167.12. Keep in mind though, Apple could correct all the way down to this gap and it will still be inside last week's candle. So I think, if Apple doesn't keep going and we have the 2-2 continuation or 3-2-2 continuation, then it may be an inside week if it goes to fill this gap. And then, we could have CPI, it could fill this gap, and we could have CPI and it goes right back up and, that type of thing. But we may end up having a volatile week, may not. But yeah, because Apple has been so strong, I do definitely think at least it needs some correction. But we do know that there are upside targets in case it does continue to move. Also, we got a PMG here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's a PMG on the month. I mean, we don't. We know Apple would take a lot to take out all of that, but there is a PMG on the month that we would like to keep in our minds. Looking at Microsoft, also has a PMG on the month. Market better not fall because if it falls fast, it does. It could pull a Starbucks. Maybe that's the inner bear in me. See, Kiki is becoming the bull, and I'm becoming the bear. So, Microsoft actually though had its uh, rally base and what looks like the start of another rally. So we do know that we do still have room to the upside. We still have this 315, 316. We did fill that gap. I remember we had a gap here at 310. Yep, so that gap is filled. And do we have another one? I mean, it's way up there, so we'll revisit that. But that first gap at least is filled, this 310 that we were going for. Um, so you, like I said, you now have a rally base with the start of a rally. So if it continues, then we're looking for this 315 and 316 area. And then if if it wants to go, top of the broadening formations, 330. Yeah, it'll be a lot. Otherwise, again, well, I don't know necessarily that this would be an inside week. Microsoft could really use some correction on the weekly because we got this whole gap right here. But you know, you see the support there. This was like almost a double bottom on the day, and then it boomed. So, but we do have an unfilled gap to the downside. Should we move to the downside? So remember that if it did like for some reason did a 3-2 up, 2 down, don't necessarily think it would give back all of this, but it could at least correct down here to this 291 or this gap fill 281. So we'd have to see. Hey Richard, I got you. I will look at that in just a little bit. So the Qs looks exactly like Microsoft, basically, where it has a little bit of more room to the upside to go. And then the monthly target for the Qs would be 334 if it continues. It's way up there. We do have an inverted head and shoulders here. So it found that support right there, 315. That's going to be my first really major support for it. But then we do have a kind of looks a little bit like NASDAQ, where this could be a potential double bottom. I mean double top right here. So really have to see what it does. I mean, it had its rally, its correction, and gave back all of that. It did a double bottom, and then came up here and almost did a double top. So again, this could also be an inside week, and it can stay inside of this area, or we can just push up to this, at least to the top of this monthly broadening formation. So, what you need to watch is Apple and Microsoft for the Qs. So if Apple does start to correct, then you might see some correction in the Qs. There's no real actionable signal here, but, y'all know how y'all play that. It's not really, you can find the actionable signal on the 4-hour, 1 hour, one of those. So SPY actually did the outside month and came back in, all the way back in. So, and then we have a double bottom here on the day. So I see a couple of things. I see this double bottom where we can definitely, boom. But then you do have this higher high here that will be our head and a possible left shoulder over here. And it's really good all the way up to 416. So, SPY can come all the way up to 416 and then reject, and that head and shoulders will still be good. But then consequently, like we said, we got this double bottom here on the day, which would have us think that that would actually send us. It's also really, it's not really a double bottom on the week because it took out, I believe, did it take that out? It did. So it's a double bottom, but it was a TTO. So you have that on the week as well, finding some support. So SPY would need to be aggressive in 3-2 up to do this, but it's not to say that it couldn't. But for me, this is looking more like a shoulder area. Consequently, if we do stay inside, we may iron out this whole shoulder area right here. So my first target to the downside, of course, would be this gap, 407. Again, the resistance is going to be 416. And then remember, we've been talking about that gap at 421, 422 ish for a very long time. If I once it that's going to be my next upside target that it's just been kind of slowly creeping up towards. So before I get to these, Richard asked about Airbnb. So we have been looking at Airbnb last few weeks. It hasn't done much of anything this month so far. It's really a doji on the month, so it's like no one is in control, but at the same time they're buying the dips here. So as you can see, it'll boom, it comes back down, but then they buy the dip. So right now we're still being supported by this 200 right here. So 116 is going to be my support there. If it does come back in, you do have a possible rev strat here. But really, to me, this is a noisy area where it's kind of been chopping at. You can see it's kind of like gapped up several times from this whole area. So I really think that's why it's been chopping here, because it needs to iron out this price area. Look, there's even gaps right here that is still ironing out, and then it's going to pick a direction. If you look at it on the week though, it still has that inverted head and shoulders. So as long as it stays above this 112, then it's still good. I mean, we even have somewhat of a shoulder, head, shoulder. So as long as it stays above this 112, it's still good, and it may move actually, but it really needs to break 123. Yeah, 123.50, I would say, to get more upside. Then it could possibly rev strat on the month, but you see that it's also been finding rejection. It's kind of like on this week, it's been in a downtrend. You can kind of see it like that. So it would really need to break through here with some strength to break out. This also could still be a cup and handle though. So, but like I said, we've been talking about it for a few weeks, and it's still been inside of this, basically this mother bar right here. So it needs to break out of there to actually do something. So that's Airbnb. XLE, of course, we have been watching Energy. It was actually beautiful last week. With this move right here, we triggered the monthly to the downside, and we still have a little bit of room. So if it wants to continue, 75.35 is going to be the target here. There's no actionable signal on the week, but it could 2 up, 2 down. It's a doji, so it's not really strong, but if it breaks this 79.84, then you can come on down to that and then finish to the monthly target. So it's like a big old H. Yeah, that when we were looking at it, I believe it was here last week, and we saw this inverted head and shoulders, and it broke through support. So that actually was a great signal for you to go ahead and take it to the downside, because it broke that support, and that inverse head and shoulders was invalid, and more of this head and shoulders played out. So we always want to be mindful of the larger ones, but these shorter ones you do want to pay attention to. So that's no longer valid. It still has, this hit supply. Yeah, it hit supply and bounce. That's why it came back up. So if it does come to the upside though, I would look for it to retest at least the 200, 82.54. But then again, remember the downside, we have that monthly target. So of course, looking at our favorite ZOM, it has also triggered to the downside. So it has room. 98.16 is going to be the target if it's going to continue. Again, there's no actionable signal here on the week, but on the day, if it does the same thing, the 2 up, 2 down. However, just remember it has done this right here, so it may need to come back up and iron this area out right here. Gapped real fast up through there, and then it fell fast through there, so may come up and correct a little bit more before it continues to the downside. Also keep in mind that ZOM is still above its 200, so that is a first solid support before it could possibly finish on the monthly. You're welcome, Richard. If I don't know if y'all can hear my kids, hopefully y'all can't, but sorry. So looking at XOXL chips, chips have been having they had some correction and some boosts. Before I get to XOXL, no, I'm gonna go ahead and look at this, and I'm gonna look at Nvidia because Nvidia was actually a really good play this week, but so was SOXL. So these are going to really look the same. But basically, on Monday, they boomed out, and let's see, this is a little bit different. No, because this had an inside week. I'll show you in video on how it did that. But SOXL, by the way, is an inside week. If it does push to the upside, though, if it can really break 15, then we have some um, upside we can get to. And then this could be a nice TTO that could be an inverted head as long as it holds above 14. Yeah, I like 14. As long as it holds above 14. Then we also have the same thing on the day where we got the hammer, came back up, retested, and came back up. So now looking to see if it's going to reject or push back up from here. If AMD and NVIDIA move, then of course that will help SOXL move to the upside. But what I wanted to point out with NVIDIA, this was really a great all week play because last week it printed a hammer on the week, and so your trigger was that 2 up 2 down, and then your first target was the 281, then your next target was that 289.41, right? So when it triggered it on Monday and hit that target on Monday. It was actually beautiful. Then you had a 2-1-2 down. If you caught it on the day, could have actually possibly caught that on the 4 hour as well on Tuesday. So it was a great play on Tuesday as well, where it gave up all of those gains. And then on Friday, after giving it up, it did the 2 down, 2 up reversal and came right back up. So this was a great both way play last week. So I just wanted to point that out. I think Nvidia does still have more room. However, you do know we've hit this monthly target, so it may have another green bar and then more correction, or that may have been its retest and it falls back. We have to watch. I think earnings is May 24th, so we got some time for that, for Nvidia to keep doing what it's doing. But just know it's been supported. I mean, even here on the monthly, you got an inverted head and shoulders above 209. We're super bullish. We're above all EMAs. They're all pointing up. So even though it's not an actionable signal here, like say on Monday, maybe if it had some correction, you could catch this 2 up 2 down. But watch NVIDIA, it's been moving really, really well. And AMD. So AMD we've also been talking about for a while because we had a PMG here. And although it had earnings, it didn't really do a whole lot. It dropped. But then it came right back up after that news with Microsoft. So I think that news with Microsoft was actually good for a multi-week run. Because if you really look at it, once we dropped, we just washed below this 200 and we recovered it really quickly. Which is, this is also the start of a head right here on the daily. So as long as it stays above 83.81, I would for the most part be bullish on it. And then, we do have all of these targets up here to the upside should it decide to have a run. And I think it would be a, multi-week run. So it may run like all the way up to NVIDIA earnings, especially if NVIDIA keeps pushing, which, there's no reason right now for it not to be pushing, especially with AI being the topic on in everybody's mouths. And NVIDIA is like the biggest chip maker and stuff. So, yeah. Note this here on AMD that this is also could be a head and a shoulder. So really needs to break above 100. I hope y'all can't hear my dog right now either because she is snoring so loud. Oh, okay. So yeah, that could be a larger head and shoulders if it cannot break above this 100. 100 seems to be solid a solid rejection point. So if it's going to really, really break out, like on the monthly, it needs to get above there. But first, we're just trying to get there. So we can just get to these targets out. Then that'll get us to that 100 where it may reject again and come back in and then actually move back up. Because although this is a larger head and shoulders, if you look shorter, you got the inverted head and shoulders. On the monthly, that's supported at 76.35. And then, well, yeah, that's the weekly 200 as well. See the same inverted head and shoulders there on the weekly. And on the day, it's more of a head and shoulders. So it really needs to break above that high that it created the other day, 92. Otherwise, if it rejects there again or keeps rejecting or bounces in between this 200 and doesn't break out of there, it may break down. So it really needs to break that 92, and then we might be able to see some more upside. So China got beat. China started the year so good, and then it just got beat down. Not really doing anything on the month here with K-Web, but we did see a little bit of recovery on the day, basically a triple bottom here, and a double bottom on the weekly. So if we are to see some recovery in China, start looking at your Chinese stocks to see if they break up. I know I have a couple of gaps here. Oh, great. They would start cutting grass. Today is just not my day. We do have a couple of gaps here to the upside that we could target. But, yeah, keep China on your watch list. Kiki has also been talking about Baidu. Almost done. And then, Kiki, you can chat. Baba. So Baba has finally triggered the month to the downside. It didn't quite hit its target. So if it does, continue moving down, then it could do that. However, we do have where it bounced here and recovered. So if it wants to do an inverted head and shoulders here, then our shoulder area is going to be supported at 82. And it needs to break 83.21 and then 85.33. If it breaks that 85.33, then it will 2 up on the week. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 corrective weeks. So it may want to come back up and, it could even outside month now that it's taken out last month's low. So have to keep your eyes on that. And then Disney, we have been watching because of earnings, and it's not doing anything. And it's probably because it's waiting on earnings. I'm thinking that Avatar probably brought in a whole lot of money for them for the last quarter. So, because it's still not on Disney Plus, y'all, which is crazy. But it's on Amazon Prime Video, but you got to pay for it. And I'm like, I got Disney Plus. Why y'all making me wait and pay on Amazon Prime? They trying to get all the money. So that could be good or bad. I don't know. But yeah, we're still watching it. Just to see if it does anything. I thought that it was going to do a run up to earnings like it did last time, but it didn't. So this may actually be a better after earnings play, what I meant to say. Because before it ran up before, and now it's just really consolidating. So whichever way it pushes for earnings, it may be a good continuation play. And then, you got some targets up here to the upside if it does move. I still think it's going to be bullish, but I'm not good at earnings. That's Brittany's thing. So I think I had a couple of things. That's what it was on Disney with the monthly, is that it triggered it, but it almost hit it. So actually, we're not going to count that. We're going to take that off. AMD, though, I did want to say that if it does continue to push, you can't see it here because for some reason the tool, when you do the 50%, if it's a red bar, if it doesn't turn green, it won't calculate it for you. So it's really easy to do that. I can actually show y'all how to calculate that. Just take that bar, turn your fib on, fib it real quick, and you see your 50% level is at 90.52. So that's the 50% level for the month. We do know, I mean, you can honestly see over here where it rejected that 50% level several times. So that's the level it really needs to get over. If it does, it's going to trigger the outside month. Ideally, it would be nice if it's like you got an outside day here. If it does like a 2-1-2 up, comes down and finds support on this 50% level and then keeps going, then we can at least target the outside month first, that 97.21, and then it may continue to take out those other targets. So that's AMD, and then a couple that haven't triggered. No, these have triggered. When have triggered the 50% on the month, and then Starbucks. It's so funny. We were watching Starbucks, and of course I missed this. I missed this. We were watching it. We was like, oh, it's a nice little PMG on the week. I mean on the day, and then missed it. But Jamal caught it, so I'm happy. It makes me happy. But you see it bounced here. It actually almost finished the outside month, so it may not come back down to that because it was like literally 80 cents away from it. And we now have a newly created gap to the upside. So I'm really watching Starbucks either way. If it does, for some reason, come back in and it rev strats on the day, then that would be my target. It's that outside month to finish it. Otherwise, it could possibly move to the upside, and you got an inside 4 hour here. So if it does a 2-1-2 to the upside, at least you can possibly target. You know, it may just completely recover that gap, or it may just come back up here and take these stops out and go back down or whatever. But I still think that Starbucks will be a decent play, even though this was missed. Keep in mind, though, that this is also a mother bar. So, you know, if you want to play it to the upside, then that's fine. But if it stays stuck in this area, then you probably don't want to touch it. Last but not least, we have a new 2-week bar starting on Monday. So y'all know I like to point out a few things. First of all, I mean, Starbucks could 2 up, 2 down, which, you know, of course it would have to break that. But yeah, that's not on my list, as you can see. Tesla is on my list. You got a hammer here on the 2-week. You also have a hammer. Oh no, that's what I was looking at. It was on the 2-week. That's I posted in the chat that it was on the weekly. It was actually on the 2-week that I was looking at Tesla. But yeah, it's a hammer here on the 2-week, which if it doesn't reject because it just recently took these people out, then it may be going for this gap here, or even this 200 test to the upside. It could definitely, if it does this 2 down, 2 up, then that would be the target, would be 192.13. That's a little above this 200. But my first target actually would be this gap fill, this 180 to the upside. So keep Tesla on your watch list. You also got this inverted head and shoulders here. Lots of rejections at this spot and support, so it boomed up. So it may actually come down and correct first. Well, this is on a 4-hour. It may come down and correct some first before moving back up, or, you know, that could have been its correction after this drop and then it dies. But either way, you know, we do have this hammer here, so keep that in mind. Also, AMD does have that 2-week hammer, so that 2-week hammer could trigger the outside month and so on and so forth. So AMD is really my top watch this week. Well, probably over the next few weeks. I mean, it's always my top watch, but I really do like the setup. UAL has an inside week here, but it really needs to break this area, and this is a mother bar to be aware of. However, if it does decide to push and finally can get above 46.27, understand that that's the monthly trigger, 3-1-2 up monthly trigger. So although the only thing is, again, you're in this weekly mother bar, which is inside of this monthly mother bar. So that's the only issue. But if it can break that 46.33, I like it, because, you know, it'll break out of this area. It'll hold above this 200, and we do have gaps to the upside that we can target. Coin also just had earnings. There is room to the upside if it does still push. 66.50. And then you have, even though it's red, you got a tight hammer here on the weekly. So, but it would have to break above 60 for me. So if it can break above 60, then you can target. Well, first I would target this little teeny gap, 66.57, and then maybe the 200 it can get to, which is that 72.28. Otherwise, well, no, this is not even. It's a really bullish engulfing candle. It's not even giving any signals to possibly reverse. But if it does continue to that 72, that is also the outside month target. It needs to hold above 62.88 in order to do that, though. So, and the month is just starting. We're a week in, and some of these things have triggered. So, really interesting. All right, I'm gonna check really quickly to see if we have any questions. I don't see any. For supply and demand order blocks, you guys. You are the best, Jamal. I swear, you always like you be having the best hacks and stuff. I appreciate you. Kiki, did you have anything that you wanted to go over? We ain't seen your screen in a while. You may be tired of my
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know if Discord is working, but it says my screen is loading, so I don't know. But I'm gonna share. Hopefully it works.
Oh, one second. I think I have to stop. Do I have to stop? Oh, okay, here we go.
Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, we can see ya.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna talk about. Actually, I want to start with HD. Actually, you can hear my music in the back. But I'm watching HD. Hasn't been really doing much, honestly. Sorry about all the lines, and I was confusing. But it hasn't really been doing much. It's kind of been trading in this range, but we finally got a two up, two down, on the week. So I'm kind of looking for a continuation. Let's see, we could kind of start coming down here. Keep in mind, I do have earnings coming up. I think in like 2 weeks, not this week coming, but the following week. So, but I'm looking for it to break below this 200 because it's kind of been using it as support, and it hasn't been able to really break it. So, I'm looking to see if it could do that next week.
Do you
On the
know?
daily, we have an inside day. So hopefully we get that 212 down and can start taking out at least some of these targets before earnings. So that's what I'm looking at, that 212 down on the 4 hour.
I see that strong
Still a whole lot of
resistance.
nothing. He said, what happened?
I said I see that strong resistance, but I just wanted to explain to everybody that her boxes are levels of support and resistance, and so are the lines. So I know you was
Right. It's
apologizing for them, but don't. That's supply and demand. So y'all actually getting levels right now. If y'all ain't writing them down, then that's your fault.
Yeah, write the levels down. When you go intraday, like when you go into, let's say you like to enter on a 15 minute, it's way better.
Don't look as cluttered.
You can see as this 298 was kind of resistance, and it's been resistance. If you come down like to the hour, you'll see that it's kind of been trading sideways and retesting. Will come down, retest, come down, retest, and then come down again. But I'm hoping that it probably come up a little bit to like 292 during the week on Monday, and then just continue to fade down. But that's the hope. But on the 4 hour, we also have an inside 4 hour candle. It does look like on the MACD that it's starting to like curl up a little bit. So that's just something to be mindful of. That it might go back into the same pattern or trading sideways type of thing. So it might come back up and retest here, and then just continue sideways. On the 2 hour, I actually added the 2 hour on here. You can actually see that it's trying to, buyers is kind of stepping in, but it's not really strong green candles, so it'll be interesting to see what it does during the week, because if it doesn't push strong enough, it definitely should come back down. And this little cloud here Jamal gave me, it's just basically the 9 and the 20, and once the 9 crosses below the 20, is bearish, and vice versa.
And it
So
opened.
right now it's kind of in a bearish trend. So I'm looking for it could come up and retest probably the 20 and then come back down, but it has to like make a really strong move. These candles are pretty strong. You got a little rally, come down, rally up, come down, a little rally, and then it might come back down again. So that's something that I'm watching for next week. And that's it on a 1 hour. So the levels are important. Of course, we're probably going to come up to here,
Do
but
y'all
we can
hear me?
reject here.
Do I need to mute, or is it just me? Y'all can
No,
hear
I
me?
don't anything.
Okay, good. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. So that's HD. But just be mindful, if it continues to stay in this kind of like range, I probably wouldn't trade it. Unless it decides to break it and come down, or comes from here and all the way back here. It's a pretty decent move. But yeah, that's HD. And just watching these inside candles. Inside 4 hour, inside day. 2 down on the week. And it needs to break this. Looking for it to break this 200 level. So hopefully it does. My BA chart needs updating. Yeah,
BA is a trip.
it's I miss entry on it, but it can continue down. We got all of these to kind of take out. Hopefully, we got the 2 up, 2 down on the week. We got this downtrend happening. We like trend lines and all that type of stuff. Hold on, let me adjust that. That's terrible. But y'all get the idea.
Yep.
So it is in a downtrend, and that's something to be mindful. That's the bigger picture. It is in a downtrend. So we got the inside day, and we got still room for it to come down a little bit more. Let me see. On a 4 hour,
They don't have earnings, right?
I don't think so. At the inside 4 hour, this little box here was support. So it's retesting this previous support. It can use it and then come back in and then take off and come back up here, but hopefully it comes up and rejects and then takes out like all this room down here. But again, also on the 4 hour, you see it's still trending down. It hasn't had like a real reversal back up yet to say that it's in an uptrend. On a 2 hour, again, we still got this big mother bar that is kind of trading within. So it will be interesting to see. You want it to break above here. Well, for me, the pink level right here, 201. Or retest it and then come back down. Or see if it could retest this trend line. But BA is kind of pretty much a decent mover, honestly, and the contracts are pretty cheap. So we got some MACD crossing here. But just because the MACD is crossing doesn't necessarily mean that a reversal is happening. It could just be, just retesting previous levels, and then it'll come back down.
If it crosses
But
the house, though, that is a sign that it will. If it crosses a support, right?
right, then I'll trade the temporary trend. I say the temporary trend will probably be bullish, and you'll just trade that. But just to be mindful, don't think that it's
Yeah, it's been
an
trending.
uptrend,
So yeah.
right? You're just trading the short term bullish pattern or bullish uptrend, but overall it's still in a downtrend, and that's just something to be mindful of. Or you could just wait for the retest for it to come back up here, because that's the pattern. It'll come up, and then for it to come back down. Really, entry should be like somewhere up here. But just in case they don't make it, and it wants to just flush, then that's just something to be mindful of. Entry you shouldn't get in down here. You should wait for it to come up, and then you get in for the continuation. What else I got? Oh, course on the weekly. I've been watching pattern on it. So price action is slowly like getting more and more compressed, but it is still also in a downtrend as well. But it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So I think Friday was kind of like a little bit bullish. So, and it's holding above these EMAs as well. It's kind of using it as support the past couple of weeks. 1, 2, 3, like the past 3 weeks. It's kind of been using it as support and like coming back to it. So it closed above. So it'll be interesting to see if this stays support and then it finally breaks out. Is there a gap up there? Gap at 539. Maybe. Yeah, it's like a little. It filled that gap already. Okay. So on the day, you got a 2 down, 2 up. That's green. So next week, if the market is bullish, like I hope, hopefully this is bullish too. It'll continue. It'll break out of this little wedge or triangle or whatever it's called, and start taking out these levels up here, like 512. Well, here first. 500, then 512. And cost can really move, so on the 4 we got the MACD crossing up. As long as it holds above 495, I'll probably get calls. Sorry. So I'm watching this for next week. Kind of looking for calls actually to see if it could just break out.
Is that why you're bullish on the market? Because I know cost is isn't that the
I'm not bullish because of cost. I'm just bullish because of just how SPY looks. Like
can you look at
it
tell us, please? Because I was bearish at first, and then I looked and I was like, oh, I see what she's saying. But if you could explain it, then it might be.
Let me see if I could get all of this off of here, so it'll be easier just to explain what price action.
Before you do that, go to where it said drawings, because maybe it has a way to hide it, like on TradingView.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have no idea.
Yeah, go down to drawings. Oh no, it don't have a way to hide it.
It does, but I think it removes like the indicators, but it doesn't remove the lines that I drew. So it's kind of strange. It won't hide everything. So I did try that before. It's fine. It's saved. So let's delete all of that. So what I was looking for, so what I've been telling Lala, in her DMs and stuff like that. SPY is technically in an uptrend. So what it really needed to do was come down to make a lower high, come back up to make a higher high, come back down again to make a lower low, which it really didn't. It kind of like double bottom. And then this is where I was like, okay, I'm bullish because it is double bottom and it did what it needed to do. It kind of came up, retested this resistance or supply zone, whatever you want to call it, came back down, did this double bottom, and now it gives it kind of like that ammo for it to push and run up and probably take out 420. So we could push to 420, probably Monday or something like that. So it's kind of doing what it needs to do. Like price action moves in a wave. In order for the trend to continue, it needed to come down and then boom this way, or become invalid, come down and then break all of this and start taking out all of these. Then the downtrend becomes, the uptrend becomes invalid. So that's what I was watching like the whole week. And then Thursday, when I seen all of this, I was like, okay, I'm definitely bullish. And this is what I was waiting for, and this is what I've been trading like this. Starting from here, okay, it's coming up. It tests here. We got that, what you want to call an inverted hammer or like a doji. We come down and then we spike back up to take out all of this. But we need to break above here. Once we break here, that is 420, 419. We might come down, retest somewhere down here, maybe like 416, then continue back up and start taking out these higher levels.
Up there. Oh,
Yeah.
y'all mark it. That would be
Let me see what it's doing on the week.
no, that's not it. That's right. Spy got the.
Yeah, it's still like you can see the uptrend better on the weekly too. So you started here, comes up, comes down, makes a higher high, makes a higher low, comes up. So now we're like basting. Like you got two hammers, even though it was a red hammer on the week. It's still come down a little bit and then finally spike and take out like over here. I mean, that might be a stretch, but that's the plan.
I mean, even if you kind of looking at the like what you just said with the market structure, taking out that 428 area would be that higher high after it just put in a lower low back in October.
Right.
It just took forever to come up to make that higher high, but that ideally on the week when you look at it like that, inside of that structure, that last higher low, it probably definitely wants to take out that 428. And then it could come back down and make a lower low. It may not, but from my understanding of what you're saying, that's what it looked like it may want to do.
Right. That makes sense, but like I don't know how to like explain it, but that's kind of like how I've been looking at like price action. Like what does price need to do? Like what is it going to do next, and how does the trend continue? What it needs to do in order to continue the current trend that is in. But what needs to happen in order for the current trend to break? So that's how I kind of been looking at the charts for the past like 2 weeks or so. Like what needs to happen.
The only thing that gives me pause is so those two. It's had 3 uptrends since October, and on all 3 of those uptrends, you had at least several weeks of correction, but you haven't had it after this week. I mean, this last run since from 380 since
Right.
March. So that's the only thing that gives me pause. Is like it. Well, I don't know. It may need to just. It may take out.
It could be a double top too. Honestly, it could be like, all right, that was when it could. This could be a double top. It could come back down and just tank, but we just have to see. Hopefully it doesn't. I hope it doesn't. But and you got this like, is this a gap? Is there a gap there? No.
It's a little teeny gap at like 421.
Yeah.
That's why I'm thinking it may go.
Or you might open green on Monday and just take these out. Like come up to what's this? 418. Might even get to like 419 and then just collapse. Trap all the bulls. Thing is gonna run up here. And then it just collapsed. So that would be great too. But it could be a double top. Got a double bottom, a double top.
In this area, although we've consolidated longer, but the last time we definitely fell from this area. So
right, as you can see from here, like once it retested here, we had a big drop. Here we dropped again, and here dropped again, and we're retesting, dropped again. So now you have to see what it does next week. We got like CPI and all other. What else is going on? I don't know.
CPI. Yep.
So it might test again and come back down and continue that same choppiness, that same pattern that it's been in. Or it might give it the push that it needs to kind of like break out of this, and now we up here. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Try hard next week.
And I think the Q's is the same, I think. Is it? It's probably where I think I could delete some of these lines, but yeah, kind of the same thing. You got this drop, rally, drop, and then we retest them again. And it's been trading in the range for forever as well. Let me see. Yep, kind of in this box that it can't break out of. But the good thing is it kind of ended with a hammer, so that's the good thing. So it looks like a hammer. I don't know. I don't know these shapes and patterns and stuff, but
Yeah, that's a hammer.
thank you. But yeah, and on the 4 hour, it looks good. It looks pretty strong on a 4 hour. So you want to see strong candles going in early into like next week. You want it to open up strong. And on a 2 hour, you got an inside candle. So that's something to be mindful of too. This level here, I should mark that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. See if it could break above here before you decide to get into calls. But like you got the 212, it might come down on Monday. So just something to be mindful of. So like when trading, you want to kind of like think of every scenario possible. Like what could price do? And when am I going to jump in? Only if price does X, Y, and Z. Only if price action does X, Y, and Z, then I'll jump in. So, but for me, I wouldn't touch it unless like it breaks 334 with volume and like a strong green candle. But this little 2-1, it kind of makes me cautious. It might come down a little bit, but we shall see.
Did that on that 2 hour? Oh, it did take out that previous candle. Okay. Okay. I like it.
Yep, me too.
Jamal, were you looking at anything, or did you have anything you wanted us to look at? I didn't get a chance to look at the IBD paper yet. I was in a meeting most of the morning, so I haven't looked at the updates. But did you have anything that was glaring at you? What's up, Jay? He may actually not be able to talk. Usually Jay isn't though, but Jay, we are actually wrapping up. Miss Kiki said because she had all the supply and demand lines and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I guess we're gonna have to figure out when you can get on here next. Maybe we can look at some stuff. But if y'all don't have any questions or anything else y'all want us to look at, I guess we'll let y'all go enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Alrighty.
Thank you for watching this. And y'all have
Alright, later.